Hello everybody and welcome to a very special video because I actually have a Q&A with a guest today. So I'll let my guest go ahead and introduce himself.
What is up? I'm Fa here. I run a YouTube channel called Awesome Toots where I also do game development, and we teamed up here for this, pretty interesting video.
Yeah, definitely. So everyone make sure you go check out his channel. Of course, will be linked in the description below. And this is kind of a unique little video. Basically, we're doing kind of like a two-part Q&A type thing. So we actually just recorded the Q&A part for his channel. So that's going to be going up over there. So I will link it down in the description below. But yeah, today we're going to be doing the kind of second part of this Q&A. You don't necessarily need to watch them in one order or another. But we're just going to be going over some, a bunch of questions that our audiences have about game development and talking about them.
Awesome. Hit me up. Hit those questions up.
Yeah, okay. So yeah, the first one that we're going to tackle is sort of related to dots and ECS because I know I've done a fair amount of videos on my channel about that. So a common question that I get is, sort of in the lines of, I'm new to game development. Should I start learning dots and ECS first because that seems to be kind of the future and there's really, high performance from it. A lot of people don't necessarily want to waste time, air quotes, waste time learning kind of mono behaviors and how Unity was traditionally developed because they think it might be outdated soon. So do you have any thoughts on this?
Well, I personally just started learning about dots and ECS, and I overviewed how it works, and I must say I am impressed. Like, the speed that you get, it's just amazing, and I have no words for it. But I also think that the traditional way is not going to go away very soon. Like, dots and ECS are introduced like 2 years ago, if I'm not mistaken. So it will take some time for it to be like the standard, and even then, like the normal programming will still be used. So my personal take is that even if you don't plan to use, the traditional programming with mono behaviors, learn it in terms of to understand how programming works, especially how it works in Unity. Even though it's object-oriented programming, and this is sort of a little bit different, but still works in the same principle, similar. So you need to understand how it works. If you don't, and even this is transferable in my personal opinion, like it's also transferable. So like, I don't know, in the future, if you quit doing game development and you don't want to do it anymore, you still know how object-oriented programming works. You can quickly switch to app development, desktop development, and so on and so forth, but it will definitely help you understand how ECS and dots will work. So my take is, learn it. And of course, after that, move on to dots and ECS. But still, I believe it will take a few years, in some time. I don't know exactly, but any technology that comes out, it takes, a few years, 5, 10 years for it to take off in terms of to be the standard, and everything else will not be used. Like even if you take a look at iOS now, it's been 6 years or 7 years since Swift was introduced, right? In 2014,
Right.
I believe. But even up to today, people use Objective-C. And they still use Objective-C to program. And this is Apple we're talking about. We all know how Apple is sensitive with everything what they do. So it's been 7 years and they're still using Objective-C. So yeah, definitely learn. My take, learn first how the normal, traditional programming works, then move on to ECS and dots. What do you think about that?
Yeah. Yeah, I think you just totally hit the nail on the head right there. The traditional way of learning, the mono behaviors and everything like that in Unity, it's certainly a lot easier to use than, the dots and ECS, and it's much more well documented. There's so many, countless resources online available for you to learn that. So it's much easier to get into, and you can actually start making games, which I think is really the most important thing. Is that you're actually making something and you're not just kind of like spinning your wheels, struggling with some certain technology. And like you mentioned, a lot of the skills do transfer over. Dots and ECS has the whole conversion workflow, which is, if you're familiar with how things work in Unity, those skills are going to translate over extremely well. And dots and ECS is really kind of more for those really high performance situations. So
Yeah.
cool. So yeah, moving along here. Um, So someone asks, what kind of computer should I have to get into game development? And this is kind of a relevant question because I actually just built a new computer over there. It's a very powerful computer, and check out another video on my channel where I kind of go through all the specs of it and everything. But so what are your opinions? Do you need a strong, powerful computer to develop games?
I'm a freak when it comes to computers. So I have like my desktop computer. It is like I bought it 4 years ago, but it has the 980 graphics card NVIDIA with
Nice.
4 GB. It has 32 gigabytes of RAM. It has a iCore 7 processor, and now I have my iMac, which is a beast. It has a 64 gigabytes of RAM. It has a i7 processor with 16 or 24 cores. With 24 cores, it's a crazy beast
Nice.
machine. So I am
Nice.
crazy about computers, you know. But like it depends on the games that you want to create. Personally, I do mobile development, and I also have a MacBook Pro, which is like, 2 gigabytes graphic card, 16 gigabyte RAM, and i7 processor. It cost me like $1,000 to get that one. So definitely that's more than enough for any basically mobile game that you want to create. Of course, if you want to do some heavy
Yes.
lifting development, like if you want to create a game that requires for you at least to have a i7 processor, you cannot have an i5 processor creating that game, or
Yeah.
it depends on the game, mostly on the game that you want to create. But if you want to create like basic games, I would say like a normal i5 processor with at least, and this is like, please, at least 16 gigabytes of RAM, especially if you're using Google Chrome. At least
Oh, yeah.
16 gigabytes of RAM, or you're going to like punch your computer a lot, and a decent enough graphics card. And with that, I mean not only the integrated one, but also one with a dedicated RAM of its own, at least 2 gigabytes. I think that will be for like decent games. And when I say decent, like still good looking games, but not like Call of Duty stuff and so on and so forth.
Yeah. That's a great point. I think any kind of mid-range laptop is probably about where you want to start. Anything less than that, you're really just going to be kind of like kicking yourself and being frustrated. So there is kind of like a minimum point that you want to be. So I think that kind of like mid-range laptop is about kind of a good entry level. And then even using game engines like Game Maker or something like that, it's not going to be really taxing, and you don't need a whole lot of system resources to run something like that. And again, at that point, you can really just kind of focus on game development, game design, the logic of making games and everything like that. And then, as you do get more experienced with it, and you start to want to experiment with some more higher end stuff, then go ahead and invest in something a little more expensive.
Yeah, but definitely people need to understand that they will need to invest in, at least, like from between, I don't know, $600-700 up to $1,000, depending on where you live, to buy a decent enough machine so that I always say, even if it's, depending on where people live, it can be expensive or not expensive, but even if it looks expensive, believe me, it will be cheaper than for you to buy a $500 laptop or a computer, then you realize it's not going to work, and then you need to invest another $1,000. So just buy one that costs $1,000 right away and save yourself a lot of headaches.
Yeah, it's like the old saying, buy it nice or buy it twice.
Yeah. Exactly.
And that kind of brings up a question that we went over in your video about, if you want to think of this as a business or as a hobby. And so I think that is kind of a little bit of a differentiator. So, if you are thinking about making games more as a business, then sure, you might want to invest in something a little more expensive because, your time is really valuable at that point. But, you don't need to go too overboard to the point where your business is bleeding money.
Yeah, exactly. Good point taken.
Definitely. All right. So moving along here, how do you handle burnout when working on a game?
Oh, that's a common question.
A short question, but a big one.
Yeah, that's a common question that is a pain point for a lot of developers. Well, like me, I am crazy about development. Like most of my time I spend, I'm a married guy and I still spend more time working than I spend time with my wife, you know? So because I love
Hey,
development.
at least you're honest about it, right?
Yeah. I mean, man, when I hear the keyboard typing, I enjoy every second of it. But still, of course, if I sometimes, usually what I do, like when we finish a game, like we launched a mobile game like a month ago. Usually, what I
Yeah,
do when we
yeah.
finish a bigger project, I mean, it's not a big game, but we still work 2 months on it. Usually, what I do
Absolutely, yeah.
after that, I chill for a week or two, just go over YouTube until we prepare the next project that we're going to do,
Yeah, so
overview
smart,
it.
yeah.
So I also coordinate the people I work with, like because I'm like the leader. So I coordinate people. Okay, you're going to do this, prepare for me that, prepare that before we start to dive into development. So and I chill during that time. Maybe play a little PlayStation 4, still not 5, but yeah. I mean, 4 can do as well. So basically, I do take a little bit time off. I also like, I love soccer. I don't know, you're from Canada, right? I don't know how.
United States.
Oh, you're United States. Okay, so yeah,
Yeah,
like we over here
California,
we say
yeah.
football. We say football, but football is rugby in United States. But soccer, yeah. So yeah, I love soccer.
It's all shifted.
Yeah, so like I have that once, twice a week, with my friends, and also I go to the gym to chill out because what's also one thing that I also want to add to it, which kind of relates to the part that we talked in my video about motivation in terms of I talked about like you need to have a regular sleep schedule and so on and so forth. One of the things that I do is I go on massages. Like I go and have
okay.
I have 2 massages a week, but it's not a relaxed massage because that doesn't do anything. It's like a sport. I don't know. I don't know how it's called in English, but we call it like a
Kind of
sport.
like a deep tissue massage.
Yeah, like a sport
Like they're
massage.
really-
Like yeah, what the athletes
Yeah.
do. Like it hurts.
Yeah,
it really
yeah.
hurts.
That's great,
But
yeah.
but it's especially because we spend a lot of time sitting on a chair. And no matter how good your chair is, no matter if you bought, I don't know what is the name of that most famous chair for people who work on desktops, it's like $1,500. Even if you have that chair, it's not going to help you because we are
Right.
human beings. Our bodies are disposable basically. So you need to take care of yourself as well. So like definitely chill a little bit after you finish a larger project, and especially if you are in the middle of it. Chill a day or two. Just don't take too
Yeah,
long.
yeah.
Because if you're in the middle of the project and you take too long time break from it, it can happen that you will, find it harder to get back to it.
Yeah. Yeah. So I kind of have 2 points on this. And the first one that I have kind of sums up, I think, what you were trying to say is to basically just not let yourself get burnt out. So make sure you kind of have like, a little bit of a release on kind of the daily basis. Get your exercise, make sure you're going outside. Again, getting good sleep. You don't want to overwork yourself on a day-to-day basis because, if you do that too many days in a row, you're going to burn out real quickly. And then I think the other thing is just kind of like realizing that burnout is going to come no matter what. There are so many things in life that are just, cycles. We'll be working really good, and just be like, jamming, having a ton of fun working on our games. We can, work for hours and hours, no problem. But then, it hits a point where we just crash and we, don't have any motivation. We feel like we can hardly get any work done. So just kind of like realizing that that's coming and, just kind of being able to still kind of work through those burnout periods, even if you're just getting a little bit done. That's going to be much better than just, giving up completely and not getting anything done.
Good point taken. Good point taken.
So do you have any good exercise drills for not getting stiff, keeping your programming and art skills or just kind of whatever you do in game development, keeping that up?
Well, what I like to do, and I like to experiment a lot. I like to, try things out. Like if I have an idea, I'm going to put it and I'm going to try how to do it. And if I can, I'm going to, browse a little bit, Stack Overflow, the regular stuff that, programmers do nowadays. But what I found is like for me personally, what it kicked off and really made me dive more into programming and understanding the depths of it is exploring GitHub, or any project that I can find online from other people, and like diving into it, trying to understand,
picking it apart.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
That's great.
especially
Yeah.
first time I see the project, especially if it's a larger one. When I say larger, if you have a few scripts with a couple of hundreds, I'm not going to say thousands, but a couple of hundred lines of code, even thousands. I found scripts like there were gazillions lines of code, and you need to dive inside and understand every part, what's it doing, and how to break it up, how to improve things that are not improved, and so on and so forth. For me, that really kicked it off, because once I understood how to, open a stranger's project, especially if he didn't document. Most of the projects that you find online are not documented. Only the paid ones are, but the free ones are rarely documented. So you need to dive, you need to see what this is doing, what that is doing. So if you find your way around that, I believe that you will understand programming in more depth. Definitely will understand Unity in more depth, how it works, because you broke apart something that was put together, and you now understand how to put it back together, improve it. That's a crucial thing, especially if you want to get a job in the industry, if you want to work in a game studio, because when you get to a game studio, you're like, here's the project we're working on, and maybe they're working on that project for 2 years, 3 years. Good luck finding yourself around it if you don't know these things.
Yeah, right. That's totally true. I think that's a really great point, is like basically getting out of your bubble. Even if you are just if you are just kind of like staying, I guess, in your bubble and focusing on the same project and just continually developing that. Of course, your skills are going to improve over time as you start to learn things. But really breaking outside of that, seeing what other people are doing, you're going to pick up on so many just kind of like little tips and tricks, and see how people do things. I think another good exercise for not getting stiff for me is game jams. I like participating in game jams, once every couple months or so. I think it's just a great idea to experience taking a project all the way to completion, practicing those skills of actually finishing a game and being able to release it. And being able to experiment with some things that you might not do on kind of a day-to-day basis.
That's definitely one of the things that I don't do, but definitely people should do. My friends, they're doing it a lot, but personally, I hate being limited by time. It gives me the creeps. That's why I hated school my whole life. And that's why I hated exams and everything, like, you need to finish it. No, I don't. If you pressure me, I just lose it, That's why I didn't do any game jams so far, but I definitely need to try it out. Even if I fail, I need to try it out, because definitely over time I will get better, but definitely that's one of the things,
it's a ton of fun. And I think that kind of brings up a point, is you need to figure out kind of what works for you, coming back to this point where maybe game jams work for you, maybe they don't. So again, just kind of figure that out.
Experiment, like in everything.
Cool. And then, I just have one last quick little question that we can end on. So do you have any a good useful hubs or websites for free resources? Kind of aside from the official ones, of course, like the Unity Asset Store and things like that.
Yeah, definitely one of the, and unfortunately, he only publishes, I believe, once a week, but it's called Game Dev Digest. Just type it out on Google.
Okay.
Game Dev Digest. The dude, I even forgot his name. He has a website and an email list. I've subscribed to his email list and even got his RSS feed on one of the apps that I'm using. What he's doing, he's gathering all of the stuff that he can find during that week that was published related to Unity game development, be that scripts, be that assets, tutorials, blogs, whatever. I'm going through his releases. I went from the first one and I'm currently on the 16th one, gathering releases, and I'm bookmarking them. And I found a lot of useful resources, especially for Unity, like some custom made scripts from people for quick finding things. Like you can it's an extension for the Unity editor, just a small script, a few lines of code, and basically you can drag and drop in those fields whatever you want. Prefabs, folders, whatever, for quick access. Just click on it and then there you go. So that's definitely one of the best resources I found. There's also Ask a Game Dev. Ask a Game Dev is also one of them. And I don't know. What I usually do is I browse through gamasutra.com and Medium for finding game development related posts, because you cannot you can't find something that you're looking for every single time, like in terms of advice for game development specifically for Unity. It's just like basic game development related content on Gamasutra, but definitely you can find a lot of useful things there. So these four, so to say. So medium.com, Gamasutra, Game Dev Digest, that's a must-have for every Unity developer. Game Dev Digest, just look him up. You will not regret it. And Ask a Game Dev, definitely.
Yeah, I think those are all definitely great resources. And then as far as like websites for like content go, if you're looking for, kind of like different art assets, I think the Kenny website, KENNEY .NL, they have like a ton of good, just, simple little 2D and 3D assets that are great for making games.
Yeah,
and
I forgot to mention that because I browse the asset store, especially when it's on sale.
Yeah.
You can steal.
Yeah, there's a sale going on right now. So
yeah, you can steal how cheap it becomes. I feel bad sometimes. I need to message the developer and tell him, man, give me your PayPal. I need to give you 20, 30 extra bucks because because really you can find some really, really useful things there that can just save your game development life.
Totally. And then, another one that I actually kind of recently came across was Mixamo. Have you heard of this?
Yeah.
I
forgot to mention. I have tutorials about that. I didn't mention
it. Yeah, so go check out his tutorials on it. But yeah, if you haven't heard of it, it's basically kind of like a 3D animation, basically database, and you can download, all kinds of 3D animations. I know that I really do not like creating 3D animations, so if I can just, find some online, download them, and use them in my project, that's awesome.
Not only that, you can upload your own model, your own 3D model, and their algorithm will rig it, and all the animations you have on their website can be applied on your own model.
That's awesome.
And you can use it in any game engine, basically Unity, Unreal, or whatever you're using.
It's platform agnostic. Yep.
Awesome.
Cool. Well, I think that about wraps it up. I hope you all enjoyed today's Q&A. So once again, thank you to Fahir for joining us.
Thank you for having me, man.
It was a ton of fun. I'm glad that we could answer some of your questions. Maybe we look into doing some more of these in the future.
Thank you for watching.
All right. Take care, everybody.